Hi there. In this video I'm going to upgrade all the interior lights in the A4 B8 from 2010 to LED bulbs. Just wanted to mention this car comes with the extended light pack, so it has a bunch of lights. For example, in every single door, these lights, it has the footwell lights, but those, keep in mind, at least in my car, but I think in all of them, are already LEDs. So for those you do not need to do any upgrade for the footwell lights, but for the other lights, absolutely all of them are standard bulbs, and they have a yellow annoying light and consume a lot of power. So with these bulbs, let's take one option. For example, these ones, they are W5W, and this option that I went with consumes, compared to the originals, that the bulbs with incandescent filament, those consumes 5 watts. These things consume under half a watt, and they have LEDs only on one side because they will be used in the door, which actually outputs light only in one direction. So LEDs on the back of these things would do absolutely nothing. So my main goal in this upgrade is to drastically reduce the power consumption from the original bulbs using these really efficient LEDs, and also do not have too much light in the car. I don't want this thing looking like a UFO taking off. So I went with fairly low power bulbs, and from at least what I tried to do, all of them should have the same SMDs, 2835. I hope I did it correctly. 2835 even for this C5W, 36 millimeter long. And let's see for these ones, 2835. So they should have the same color temperature, and they should look quite uniform because they are built with the same Osram chips. So let's start with replacing the ones in the doors and go from there. To do this, you kind of need a flathead screwdriver, and you can see here at the top, simply pry this thing out. Yeah, a bit tricky to do with one hand, but it's still doable. And at this point, unplug this thing. As you can see, it has one clip in here and one on the other side, and I cannot do this with one hand. You need to pry this thing a bit to the outside and pull this thing. And this is quite warm to the touch, so I'm glad I will be going to LEDs. This actually can burn almost. Anyway, let's go to the LED. Just want to show quickly, there is another way. You can simply pull this black plastic out like this, so you do not need to undo this connector. But doing it like this, there is a chance that you will short positive with negative, and this thing will be burning to the touch. So and luckily my car just stopped it because it timed out. Yeah, I'm lucky. This time I don't need to unplug this. But I was trying to say, in your case, if this thing is already burnt out, then this will be cool to the touch. But make sure you do not short anything. So the safest way is to get this thing out, but it's kind of difficult to get it out. This thing is really stubborn in here. So there's that. But now, because the car decided to turn it off from timing out, I can get it out. And you can somehow push on that end with something made out of plastic, so you will not short anything. So let me get some plastic in here. Managed to do it. Actually, I used this plastic to push it out of there. Not ideal, but did the job. Here is the 5 watts W5W bulb, 12 volts, 5 watts. So in my case, we will be putting a LED bulb in this thing, but let me get it. So this is what we are installing. It has chips only on one side, exactly as we need in this particular configuration, and this is the info about it if you need it. So let me get to it. This is a close look at the bulb, and these things are only good for the interior as they don't have any CAN bus protection, or I don't think it's protection. They are unable to fool the system into not giving you a burnt bulb error, so these are good only for the interior. So let's plug this in with obviously the LEDs on that direction, so they shine all of the light through here and nothing from the back. And voila, this is the bulb plugged in. Plenty of room in there, not touching or shorting or anything. So this is good, and it's quite sturdy in place, so no problems. And yeah, let me just close the door for a moment so we can get a bit of the light, so you can see that, yeah, I know this is not final what I'm doing here. I just want to show you how all the light comes in this direction with this particular bulb type. And voila, but now I need to get this thing out of here once again. All the light in there, nothing from the back, which is exactly what we need. So let me put the cover on it, and let's continue. To put the cover, simply do something like this. You can see it has two small pins in there that need to latch in place, and then clip it, and you are done. Put it in place, it's locked, and let me give you an impression on how this looks like compared to the original. As you can see, it gives better brightness, and honestly it's even better directed or something like that. You can see it better, obviously. So there's that. I will do that for all of the doors, and obviously also for the ones underneath, which should be identical 100%. First thing, you need a flathead screwdriver, and at this end you put it in there, pry it a bit, and then rotate the flathead, and this thing should start to come out. Because I already know this connector is hard to pull out, so we undo this. As you can see, I'm just pulling on the black plastic in here, and we can see the bulb, incandescent bulb in there, but it's extremely hot for the moment, and we will wait for it to turn off, and then we'll use a piece of plastic to push it from the end and get it out. If yours it's already blown, it's cold to the touch, so you can obviously push it out. So I'll be back in a second. For me, this is what I will be putting in there. It's a W5W bulb, LED type, but because all the light needs to go only down, so through this thing, I choose one that only has on one side the LED chips themselves and the electronic on the other side. Got the old bulb out. As you can see, my lights timed out. It's a W5W, if my camera would actually focus on it. 5 watts bulb, and the LEDs we will be putting in consume even less than half a watt. I just need to push this thing in there, but cannot do it with one hand. So let's get to it. and make sure this thing is tight enough so it will squeeze enough on this, but the PCB is quite thick, so yeah, make sure it stays in there quite okay. And this thing is in, and I put it back like this just for a second, both of them, so I can close the door so they light up again, so I can show you. And as you can see, no light from the back, obviously no LED chips in there, all the light from the middle, and it's a nice white light, and it's not anything really extremely bright. Yeah, it's exactly as it should be. At this point, throw the cover back on. Make sure you don't short circuit anything. It has 2 pins, one here, one here. Those need to go there in the bottom, something like that, and then clipped in place. And there's that. Put this thing into its hole, and we are done. And let me just show you the color difference from the other door that I'm also doing. Ooh. And this one is already off, so let me first turn it on in a moment. Come on. Yep, that's yellow, and then that's white. You can see a tenth of the power draw, about the same amount of light, because I didn't want anything extremely bright like UFO taking off, but much whiter and better looking. So yeah, there's that. And the door lights are finished. Can I give you somehow a view of both of them for the whole doors in the car? So let's continue with the one in the trunk. Yeah, in the trunk. Okay, so to get this thing out, you need a flathead screwdriver. Put it in there and rotate it, and this thing should release, but I'm doing this with my left hand, so be back in a second. And this thing is out. Now you can either remove this connector here. It has a clip on this side and one on the other side. Yes, I did some modification here. I added this light strip. This is why my wires look like this. I will link this video in the description, because it actually provides equal light in the whole trunk. But I decided to also change this bulb. It's 5 watts. It consumes 5 watts. It's a W5W, and I'm going to replace it with this thing, which has LED chips only on one side, so all of the light will be coming inside the trunk, not into the back of this thing like this standard incandescent bulb is doing. And this consumes under half of watt, and probably even provides more light, and for sure it will be white like this one, not yellow like this. Yeah, my phone is unable to pick up how yellow this thing actually is in real life. Maybe now a bit. Anyway, so yeah, you can either remove this connector here, or undo this plastic right here, and wait for, if you don't undo that connector, you need to wait for your car to time out the light in the trunk, so it will shut this off by itself. We don't want to short circuit anything in here, so even when it's shut off, we will use a plastic tool to push this bulb out. But yeah, at the moment for me, a waiting game, because I already know that this thing comes out quite difficult. Okay, so the old bulb is out. Now let's put this new one in, which again has LEDs only on one side, so make sure the LEDs will be in the correct direction. Okay, at this point put this thing back in place. You need to put these 2 pins here. Whoa, this, what? They should have been 2. It seems this only has 1. One of them broke at some point in time, who knows when and where. you need to put those in there and clip this thing and then push it back in there, but I cannot reach it. Okay, after a quick repositioning I can reach down there and it's pushed in place, and I need to close the trunk and open it back up for this thing to power on. And it's on, and as you can see it has a higher color temperature, so it's a more pure white. Honestly, I like this white more, but it's really hard to get bulbs with this color. LED strips, it's a bit easier, but yeah, hey, there's that. Everything working. I'm going to show you how to replace a rear map light. First of all, make sure the lights are off, and then you need one of these pry tools that doesn't scratch or damage, and put it in here just behind the first layer of plastic. We are trying to take out the cover, not the whole thing. As you can see, it's even deeper in there. And then just move it around and keep prying everything out. And this is it. And you can see from the color how much these original incandescent bulbs light up and actually damage the plastic itself. So in my case, we are actually putting these things in, which, as you can see, have bulbs only on one side. They don't have them on the laterals or something like that, because light must come only directly down in this particular situation from the arrangement in here. The originals are W5W, consume 5 watts and put out a lot of heat and ugly yellow light. The LEDs, these things consume under 0.5 watts, so about 10 times as efficient. And yeah, this is the model exactly, still W5W obviously, and this is the model from this particular brand, but this doesn't really matter. And let's open this thing up and pop them in there, and I think they are polarity dependent, so if we put it in the wrong way they will not light up, so we might need to turn them around. So let's get to it. Okay, and now make sure these are cold to the touch, but if it's already blown, maybe in your case, then for sure it's cold. And you need to put your hand in there and wiggle it around to pull it out. Yeah, and it's quite stubborn in place in my case. I wonder if both of them are equally stubborn. And I think my hands are a bit wet. Yeah, it's not a nice thing to do. Yeah, wiggle them on this direction. It seems it's doing the trick. At least I have the impression it is doing something. Yeah, and it was doing something. So this is the old bulb. Should be a W5W, but I'm not sure if we can see it. 5 watts. And these are the new bulbs. Yeah, and that one went off. So let's put one of them in. Make sure everything is okay in there, and it looks fine and dandy. Let's push this thing in place. Do we have a bit of over solder in here? Maybe. But it's in there. It's actually, yeah, it's stuck to the resistor, so it will not fall. Shouldn't damage anything or create any issues. Now we need to push this thing in place, and this will be fun. Oh, it went in easier than expected. Now let's give this thing a bell. So there's one. There's the other one, which has the wrong polarity, as I told you. Damn. Well, I guess it was 50-50, wasn't it? And because I dropped it, I might actually put it the same wrong way once again. Let's see. Yep. That's my fault for filming and doing this at the same time. Voila! And we have light. So there's that. But weirdly enough, this isn't actually giving me full light until I light that one up. I wonder why that is. Is it consuming too less power? Okay, so beware of flickering light. Yep. Houston, we have a big problem. It seems they are too low power for this car to actually consider them as working, so it's not giving them full juice. Yeah, and it sucks because they were bright enough, as you could see when I had still an incandescent in here and only a LED here, and it was lighting at the max. So they are bright enough, but they just don't consume enough power. So I need to buy other ones that consume more power and are bright as a damn UFO. Thank you, Audi. Once again, a simple job turns tricky because of stupid software and electronics. Nope, all good, crisis avoided. These things did not light up because the car was in sleep mode. I worked on it and had all the doors opened up and it went into sleep mode. So this don't consume enough to wake it up from that mode, but if you close the doors or one of the doors and open it back up, the car wakes up and these things work beautifully and perfectly. I'm not sure about the automatic dimming that the car does when it shuts them off. That might not work properly, but do I care? No, not really. So yeah, at this point, let's put this thing back up, and I think it doesn't have a front or a back, it just is symmetrical, so it shouldn't matter. Okay, so let's put this thing back in place, start from one side and then slowly clip it all around and we are done. Ooh. And this is nice. This is actually white light. Really white light. How to replace the glove box bulb. Okay, so first thing that you need, flathead screwdriver, and from this side, let me see if I can film it there. You can see we have a tiny slit in there. Put the flathead and rotate it, and it will pop out this light fixture. Weirdly enough, it seems part of it actually remained inside. So what's up with that? This isn't how this thing should come out. It's missing the upper half of the plastic. What? Let me try and put it back in. So I'm guessing somebody had a go at it at some point in time and they didn't actually close it properly. This might give me a big problem. Yeah, let me try and pull it out slowly. Yikes. I don't like this situation at all, honestly. Let me investigate a little bit. Okay, so no, this thing doesn't look like the ones from the doors. It was just my wrong opinion. So I will wait for it to time out, and I need to get this white plastic off of it, and I think it has some clips on the side. That's about it. but the wire is extremely short, so this will be quite annoying to do. But hey, there's that. And until it times out, this is the bulb that I'm putting in. It has chips, LED chips only on one side, because the light only comes in one direction, which is perfect. It's not polarity dependent, so that is also good in this particular case. This is its model, it's a W5W T10 if you want, same thing. And yeah, come on fixture, time out please. Well, okay, surprise, I think this is the first bulb that I find in this car that is not temporized, and if it's something wrong, it will just work forever and ever until it drains your battery. Or maybe when the car goes to sleep, it turns it off, but it doesn't have a timer specifically for this bulb as it has for the interior ones, for the door ones and others. So let me use this plastic tool, and it's really hard for you to see. Try to undo this side. You can see I'm pushing it out, so I think it has one clip on this side and one on the other, but because my bulb is still working and I'm not just replacing a burnt up one, I'm actually upgrading, this will be extremely hot. So yeah, let me undo this top part, make sure you do not break it, and get back to you, because this will probably burn my fingers. And once you are in here, it's the same drill as for the doors. With a plastic tool you can push the bulb down. I hope it's going to work to show you. And yeah, something happened and the bulb popped out and it's in here. So there's that, and for sure it's burning. So now let me put in my LED bulb, but also bear in mind all of this metal is extremely hot, because these bulbs get extremely hot, so I can burn my fingers. I will let it cool off and make sure I don't short anything when I put my my LED bulb in, because if I short anything, this is life and we might break something, so that's not going to be fun. And it's in. As you can see, light only coming from the underside of this particular LED bulb. We are not wasting anything, it's quite bright. We just need to clip this thing back on, obviously. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to do this with my left hand. And then push this thing back in its hole. And the cover is on, and at this point let's try and squeeze this thing back in its place without putting pressure on the wrong things in here. So everything is still okay. Yes, the cover is on. Oh, sorry, not giving you a direct view of what you need. Cover is on, and this thing is not heating up at all. So from temperature point of view, much safer and obviously brighter. And I cannot see a thing because I looked into that. Not finished upgrading all the lights, but this is just a hint of what you get. A lot of light for the funnels. These things are actually really bright, and on the inside this is already upgraded compared to the yellowish in here. You can see the color difference extremely obviously in this this shot. So tomorrow we will finish everything, and then the interior color, this one will actually match with the LED footwell lights. Okay, so for the vanity mirror or sun visor lights, you need a flathead screwdriver, kind of a small one, and look at the ends. One of the ends will have something like this. This is a slot for the flathead, but make sure you go in there with it and you push on a metal. I will show it to you right in a moment. You will feel it when you are pushing the elastic metal. It's right there, and you could see I was actually pushing on it, something like, yeah, I'm looking through the screen now, so hard to see. Pushing on it something like this. If you don't push this thing and it gets caught above this thing and you pull on it, you will have issues because you can bend it or break it. So there's that. Make sure you push on it when pulling this thing down. So there's that. Now get it out of position, and we need to remove this metal cover from this thing. Okay, so to get this thing out, again put your screwdriver in this cut right here. It starts to come out, and then pull from under it and be ready because it will jump out, and lift it out of its place, and here is the bulb. So let me show you what I'm going to put in its place. And yes, obviously to get it out you can pull on this thing just to release a bit of the tension and yank it out of there. Make sure you do not break the glass in doing this, of course, but I cannot do this with one hand. Okay, so in its place I'm going to put these LED bulbs. Normally the old bulb, it's C5W, it's a 36mm long bulb. It consumes 5 watts. These things consume, I don't know, 0.5 watts or something like that. Let's see if we have any info on the old bulb that you can actually see. And yeah, so it's 12 volts C5W, as I told you again. So let me cut this thing. As you can see, mine only have LEDs on one side, and I think they are polarity dependent, so I might need to rotate them if they don't light up from the start. But I wanted ones that don't have LEDs on the back because it wouldn't make sense. We need light only to come down into the car, so yeah, there's that. As you can see, put the new light bulb in place. Lots of light coming from down here, and compared to the incandescent yellow light, this is much nicer. And don't put some really bright bulbs in here, they will annoy you a lot. These are at the limit of what I can stand without getting annoyed by them. So next, put back the metal cover in the same way we took it out. Okay, so to put this thing back in place, like there, in that position, and then push on this so it goes under the edge, and slowly push on it, and it will clip back in place. Bulb has not rotated because yeah, if this bulb rotates, it's going to be quite annoying. You can see the LEDs in there. And now put this thing right in its hole. Make sure it's in all the way. Push on this metal a bit to help it. And there's that. Okay, and this thing is on. Off video, I will do exactly the same on the passenger side. Okay, so next let's get to this thing. First that I need to do is obviously remove my glasses from in here, and down in there you can see a screw, which I will, where is it? Missed it. Kind of hard to film in there. I will tell you in a moment what screwdriver you need, but for sure it's a Torx. But I will tell you also the value. Okay, so to remove this thing we will need a Torx T25 right in there with an extender obviously, and undo this screw, so I will be back to you when it's done. The screw is undone, and now you need one of these plastic tools that doesn't scratch trim to actually remove this, and you can pull on it a tiny bit. Yeah, a crazy man would actually directly pull on this and it will be probably okay, but yeah, I don't want to do that. So I'm putting this thing in here, and hard to do with my left hand, and pry this out, and then I will do exactly the same on the other side, and this whole thing should be coming out quite easily. Okay, for these things it's quite obvious. You simply put something underneath them and yank them out. I will be using this tool, but as this is moving around, impossible for me to film while I do it. And for the smaller ones, the ones right there, you have this tiny thing, and we need to rotate it to the left, and it comes out. And now you can change the bulb, and to put it back in place, obviously put it in here and rotate it to the right. So yeah, it's impossible almost to do with one hand because it's a bit tight. Anyway, there's that, and maybe it's not even pushed fully in. You need to be careful about that, but when you use two hands, it's quite easy to do it. So yeah, let me do that and be back. Okay, so these are the bulbs that I'm putting in here and in here for the map lights, the round ones. And they are W5W. But being LED, these things don't consume 5 watts, probably they consume under half of watt. And I bought ones that have all the LEDs on the same top side, because we just need light to go downwards. We don't need it to spread in all directions in this particular application. So these bulbs are perfect. As you can see, there is a huge space down there until the light reaches the lens. So these bulbs that I've chosen are ideal. This you just wiggle it around and yank it out of here. And yes, obviously you don't need to have this whole thing taken out of here, but as you can see, I'm adding a voltage indicator in here, so that is why I'm taking it completely out. Now let's put this little bulb in here, and I think it's polarity dependent, so I will need to do some tests to make sure everything is okay. Be careful about these bulbs. You don't need to buy ones that are too wide. So as you can see, they are almost as wide as the base, a bit wider at the top here, and they barely go through the hole. So a bit bigger and they wouldn't have fit in here, so be careful of what you are buying. And let's lock this thing in place. And it's locked. So both of them changed. Now let's pop these things out. If I could actually find this random plastic tool. Yeah, this is not going to be as easy as I hoped. Yeah, I need both hands. It will jump out for sure or fall down. So yeah, and don't push that much on the glass. Push more on the metal itself. You know what works best. Make sure the bulb is not hot to the touch, and just push it down like that, and then turn this thing around to make it fall out of there. And these bulbs are C5W, but as far as I know, C5W consumes 5 watts if I'm not mistaken, but these things are rated at 10 watts. So these things draw almost an amp, which is lost mostly in heat because they are obviously highly inefficient being incandescent. So it's great to go for LEDs in my opinion. And there is no burnt bulb detection in this thing, so you don't need to buy anything fancy. This is what I bought. C5W 36 millimeters, and these things consume less than half a watt. So let's plug them in. One of the bulbs is in, and I hope it's in the right polarity because it's a pain to put these things in. What you need to do is somehow put one of the ends in that particular hole, like this. somehow not let it drop, obviously, and then let me try and exemplify. So put the bulb like this in here and then push the other end until it falls into that hole. These sockets are normally done to be made to be accessed from beneath, but these particular things have some clips all around, so I'm not really comfortable pulling on them to release the clips. I don't want to break anything, so I will put them from the top, but there might be an easier way, but I'm not sure that that easier way exists. Anyway, you can take them out, put it in from the top for sure, but it's not pleasant or easy. Duh, obviously, did you think that I was going to nail it from the first try? So I need to rotate this bulb right here and this bulb right here for the polarity to be correct. Ta-da! Finally, all of them are working. Much nicer light. So let's put this thing back in place. And yeah, the second wire is actually for the real lights. If you don't have this plugged in, those don't work. So yeah, there's that. And I will also connect this thing, which is a separate video. So let's continue. And there's that. All the LEDs inside this car are changed, but beware for the map lights, this dome light and the map lights from the back. If you go for really low power LEDs like I did, as you can see, you are losing some functionality. If your car is in standby mode, they will not be able to wake it up. But when you open the door, or if you have your contact, they are working perfectly. For me, this is the tiniest of trade-offs, because in reality, instead of having, let me do quick math, 40 watts of bulbs only in this plus dome lights from map lights from the back, I probably have 3 watts, 4 watts, something like that. So that's way better when I work on the car and keep opening one door then the other door and whatnot. They will not drain the battery. But yeah, if you like to stay in your car without the contact on for long periods of time, this flickering is not visible in real life, only on camera, so they dim nicely when they shut off. If you like to stay in your car for long periods of time with this thing, nope, this will not work. But I don't do that, so for me it's a non-issue. I prefer to consume almost no power with these LEDs. And yeah, if you want to see adding this thing, link in the video description. Okay, now that everything is done, it's night outside. These things are perfect. They give plenty of light, much more than the original bulbs did. Those things are really bright, which is awesome also. The interior is really close to what it was. It is brighter, but it's not extremely bright. So yeah, I'm really happy with the situation here in terms of interior light, and yeah, it honestly makes this whole car look much more modern compared to the old incandescent bulb. So yeah, there's that. Really happy with everything that I did in here. Let's see what else do we have. And also obviously the trunk light, which is right about there somewhere. And yeah, hope this video helps you, in which case please give it a like, check out my other videos, and yeah, as always, see you in the next one. And these lights, again, for me they were already LED, so they didn't need any upgrade. Yeah, see you in the next one. Bye.